Trump? Yeah! Yeah! And I got to a point where I thought that everything that I'd ever done here, otherwise I thought it was all meaningless. Nothing I ever did has mattered to anyone.
Ever wondered what happens when the bright lights fade and the crowds go silent for a WWE superstar? For some, the journey ends right there. But for others, leaving WWE was the beginning of something even greater. Today, we're breaking down 10 ex-WWE wrestlers who were underused, mistreated, or outright fired, only to rise again in AEW, ROH, NJPW, and beyond. These are the stars who prove that life and success exists outside the empire. Let's jump into it. And if you were wondering who is on top of the list, hang around until the end of the video. Claudio Castagnoli, Cesaro. In WWE, Cesaro was the guy fans begged to see pushed. The company never listened. Despite insane strength and fan support, he was forever stuck in the middle. When his contract expired in 2022, he didn't resign. Instead, he re-emerged in AEW as Claudio Castagnoli, joining the Blackpool Combat Club and immediately winning the ROH World Championship. Finally, Claudio was treated like the main eventer he always should have been. Bryan Danielson, from Yes Man to wrestling purist, Daniel Bryan was beloved in WWE, but for years he was labeled too small to succeed. Yes, he broke through, but even after his miracle comeback, the machine kept him in a box. Earning $2 to $3 million a year wasn't enough to outweigh the restrictions. When his contract ended in 2021, he left as Bryan Danielson. AEW and NJPW gave him the canvas to paint his masterpiece matches. He may make slightly less now, but what he's gained is priceless: legacy and creative freedom. Swerve Strickland in WWE hit the main roster, then got cut weeks later. Swerve Strickland barely had a chance to show the world his talent. But instead of vanishing, he reinvented himself in AEW. Swagger, charisma, violence. By 2024, he was headlining pay-per-views and standing tall as AEW World Champion. From being tossed aside to carrying a brand, Swerve is the blueprint of turning rejection into rocket fuel. Mercedes Moné, from boss to CEO. Sasha Banks was beloved by fans, but constantly stuck in WWE's stop-start booking. Worse, her contract reportedly paid her around $250,000 to $300,000, far less than the men at her level. In 2022, she walked out with Naomi, demanding better. WWE wouldn't budge. So, she became Mercedes Moné, the CEO of women's wrestling. NJPW and AEW made her the highest-paid woman in wrestling history, over $1 million per year. Today, she's not just a star, she's a global force. Adam Copeland, Rated R Reborn. Edge's WWE career was legendary, no doubt. But toward the end, WWE only booked him in nostalgia feuds, despite paying him around $3 million yearly. When his contract expired in 2023, Copeland chose AEW instead. There, he wasn't Edge the Hall of Famer. He was Adam Copeland, hungry for fresh rivalries and new stories. He may have taken a pay cut, but the passion is back in his eyes, and sometimes that's worth more than a check. Samoa Joe. Joe was a killer in NXT, but WWE never fully pulled the trigger. They even stuck him on commentary. Released twice in 2021, while making around $750,000 to $1 million a year, Joe's future looked uncertain. AEW and ROH changed that. He became TNT champion, Road TV champion, and even crossed into acting with the hit series Twisted Metal. WWE sidelined him. Outside the empire, he's thriving as both wrestler and entertainer. Pac, the Bastard's Revenge. As Neville, he dazzled WWE audiences, but the company locked him in the cruiserweight division. Despite his ability, his ceiling was capped, reportedly making low six figures. He grew frustrated and walked out in 2017. AEW gave him a rebirth as Pac, the Bastard. Brutal, intense, and respected, Pac became the first ever All-Atlantic champion. He might not be the richest wrestler alive, but he's finally free to be who he is. Jon Moxley unleashed outside the chains. As Dean Ambrose in WWE, Moxley had highs and lows. He was WWE champion, but his reign was overshadowed by hokey storylines. Remember the gas mask promo? Even at $1 to $2 million a year, he felt suffocated. When his contract expired in 2019, he didn't look back. In AEW, Moxley became the heartbeat of the brand, a three-time world champion and an international star in NJPW. Today, he's living proof that creative freedom can be worth more than money. Christian Cage outwork everyone. Christian's WWE run will always be remembered as the other guy. He was Edge's tag partner, the reliable workhorse, but never treated as a top priority. Sure, he won world titles, but most fans knew WWE saw him as a transitional champion, someone to hold the belt until the real star came along. Despite busting his back for years, his contract never reached the heights of main eventers like Cena or Orton, hovering around the mid to upper six figures. Injuries eventually forced him into early retirement, and WWE quietly moved on, almost forgetting one of their most consistent performers. But Christian wasn't done. When AEW came calling in 2021, he returned with a new mantra: outwork everyone. And he did just that. In AEW, he didn't just wrestle. He reinvented himself as one of the best villains in modern wrestling. His promos targeting Jungle Boy's late father were some of the most venomous in years, solidifying him as a must-watch heel. In a twist of fate, Christian, who WWE never saw as a top-level guy, became AEW TNT champion and main event shows in his late 40s. He's now mentoring younger talent while proving his mic skills and psychology are second to none. WWE treated him like a reliable sidekick. Outside the Empire, he became a master villain, finally carving his own legacy. Paige's WWE career started like a fairy tale. At just 21, she shocked the world by beating AJ Lee for the Divas Championship on her first night on the main roster. For a while, she was booked as the anti-diva, the face of change in women's wrestling. But after injuries and backstage politics, her role was reduced. Despite being a pioneer of the women's revolution, Paige spent years sidelined. When WWE medically disqualified her from ever wrestling again in 2018, she was given non-wrestling roles: manager, general manager, and pre-show panelist. Her contract reportedly paid mid-six figures, but for someone who lived to wrestle, the paycheck was cold comfort. Then came AEW. In 2022, under her real name Saraya, she made a shocking return to in-ring competition after years of doubt. For fans, it was nothing short of miraculous. AEW gave her the chance to be more than a figurehead. They gave her the ring back. She headlined matches, won the AEW Women's World Championship, and reminded the world why she had once been considered the future of women's wrestling. Beyond that, Saraya became an inspiration. WWE saw her as damaged goods. AEW gave her a second life, and she turned it into proof that resilience can rewrite any career. So what's the blueprint for post-WWE greatness? 3 things. Relentless work ethic. Every one of these wrestlers hustled harder outside the system. Adaptability. They reinvented themselves with new characters, promotions, even industries. And knowing your worth. They refused to settle for being underpaid or underused. They didn't beg the Empire to see them. They built empires of their own. 10 wrestlers, 10 journeys, 10 lessons. WWE may be the Empire, but these stars proved one truth. The Empire doesn't define you, you do. So if you're chasing your own dream, remember this: rejection isn't the end. It might just be the beginning. Do you agree with my list, or you have a different one? If you like this video, Please like, share, and subscribe. Please help us to reach 1,000 subscribers by the end of September.